When you hear the word power or powerful, what comes to your mind? Let's just sit with that for just a minute. Of all the places that I've ever been, at or near the top for me is this really small remote island chain in the middle of the Pacific called Hawaii. Maybe you've heard of it. Formed entirely from the eruption of an underwater volcano that emerges 20,000 feet below the water's surface. It's one of the most active volcanoes on Earth. It's erupting right now as we speak and still forming new land that future generations will consider paradise. After it cools off, of course. That's power. Or how about this? You might recognize this as Einstein's equation. It means that a tiny amount of mass can be converted into an enormous amount of energy. It's not really all that impressive as a mathematical formula, but here's what the underlying principle produces. As invisible particles either divide or combine to unlock their atomic potency in the most destructive weapon known to mankind. It is terrifying power. When Artemis II rocketed around the moon last month, it burned roughly 730,000 gallons of fuel in the first 8 minutes as it broke free from Earth's gravitational pull. It pushed with 8.8 million pounds of force, and ultimately, a few days later, it screamed back to Earth at 25,000 miles an hour. That's power. What if I told you, though, that you possess a power that matches those images? It's powerful enough to create new territory. It's powerful enough to destroy it. Now, there might have been moments when you were temporarily aware of the potency of this force that's at your disposal, but most of the time, we suffer from like temporary amnesia. We forget. It's sort of like the way you drive your car. You get in the car and you just drive. You're talking to the friend riding shotgun, or your kid in the back seat, or your mom on the phone. Most of the time, almost all of the time when we're driving, we don't consciously think, man, if I'm not careful, I could hurt someone with this thing. We just get in our car and we drive. Most of us don't get in our vehicle filled with thanksgiving because of the combustible or the electric engine. We just drive. We take its power and its blessing for granted. You do that with this thing that I'm talking about today too. And you carry it with you every day. With it, you can create life, and it can also destroy life. It can change the world for good. It can lead the world to war. Even God himself uses this tool in unexpectedly dynamic ways. What we're talking about, of course, is the power of words. And I want you to listen to these statements of wisdom about words from God to us in Proverbs, which we've been studying these last few weeks, like this one. The words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Or a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Or this one, gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, healing to the bones. And finally, kind words heal and help. Cutting words wound and maim. Kind words heal and help. Cutting words wound and maim. We're actually going to hang out on this one today for a while. And I'm going to ask you, wherever you are at all of our campuses online, would you just read this out loud with me right now? Here we go. Kind words heal and help. Cutting words wound and maim. See, words carry power and weight for all of us. We have that at our disposal. With a word, we can build a bridge, and with a word, we can blow it up. With a word, we can speak life into someone, and with a word, we can take life from someone. With words, an ordinary person can do extraordinary good or bring unspeakable evil into the world. For example, do you recognize this guy right here? A few of us do. I bet most of us don't. This is Todd Beamer. And when he spoke the words, "Let's roll," from Flight 93 on September 11th, 2001, he said something that those of us who lived through that moment will never forget. His final words not only protected the rest of us from harm, but they ignited our patriotism. His final words brought life, even as they brought his own death. with words. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. brought a nation to its knees and at least moved the needle in righting a wrong that had continued for 3.5 centuries. He was determined, he had passion, and he spoke life into the sin of segregation with 4 simple words. He said, "I have a dream." With one sentence, FDR reached into the soul of America and helped her believe in herself again. With these words, the president called to action the greatest generation. He said, no matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory. Words define our world, and they also define all of our lives. As the proverb says, the words that we use can bring help and healing, but they can also wound and maim. Some of the most important experiences of healing and help and of wounding in my life have come through words. There were those life-giving words that she spoke to me over 36 years ago. She said, "I, Susan, take you, Brian, to be my wedded husband." And years later, at the height of my brokenness, in my darkest moment, she would whisper to me every night for months. As I lay my head on a pillow, she would say, "You can go to sleep, and I'll be here when you wake up." When Susan was pregnant with our first child, we decided, I say we, I don't really mean we, I really mean her. She decided that we were not going to know whether it was a boy or a girl, but our parents did want to know. And so we devised a plan. We went to see the doctor for an ultrasound. Now, you young parents, you have these sophisticated ultrasounds now with color pictures. You basically can do a portrait out of the kid and hang him on the wall. You know what he's going to look like. But ours were the old-fashioned version of an ultrasound. The image was black and white. It was sort of like one of those blob tests that you do where the child looks more like an alien and less like a human. Anyway, the doctor wrote down the answer to gender on a piece of paper and sealed it in the envelope, and like it was top secret, he handed it to us for delivery to our mothers, and I couldn't stand it. I wanted to know, so we had to stop by the grocery store. On the way home from the doctor, we parked the car. I started to open the envelope, and she started to cry. So I stopped. I said, no, I'm with you. I won't do it. I won't open it. We'll just give it to your mom. And so I ran inside the grocery store. She wanted to stay in the car. I came back 5 minutes later. She was smiling. What? I said, and as soon as I said that word, I noticed the ripped envelope on the floor of the car, the unfolded paper in her hand. Turns out she couldn't take it either. The words on that note, barely legible in doctor scribble, shaped our future and literally breathed new life into ours. It read, "It's a girl." Words carry incomprehensible power and weight to help and heal, to wound and maim. My mom brought me in the house on a Saturday when I was 9 years old. I'd been playing outside with all the neighborhood kids. Life was as good as it gets. The world made sense to me. She asked me to sit at the dining room table, and she spoke 8 words that would change my future forever. She said, "Your father and I are getting a divorce." My dad spoke 4 words to me on a hot July day in 1998. I sat on the edge of my bed, my phone pressed to my ear, and heard my dad speak about my best friend, my sanctuary, my fiercest advocate. He said, "Your granny is gone." Words carry incredible power and weight to help and to heal, to wound and to maim. Even God used words to execute his desire. He hovered over a formless, empty darkness in the earliest moments of creation, and God spoke. "Let there be light" were the simplest of words, but they lit a match in a ball of helium and hydrogen that is now, thousands of years later, still 14 million degrees, producing 400 trillion watts of sunshine power for us every single day. And when God looked at humanity and knew that he had to rescue us from ourselves, he sent his son. in the form of a divinely incarnated human being named Jesus. And he described himself as the Word. You can read it for yourself sometime. John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I like the way Christopher Brooks put it. He said, God described himself as his own articulation of his own truth. God invented words for us to proclaim the word as we use our words for help and healing. But we get to choose. See, words do carry power and weight to heal and help, but they also have the power to wound and maim. And the very relevant question for everyone in the sound of my voice today is, how are you using your words? Are they helpful and healing, or do they wound and maim? Because you get to decide. You can turn your weapon of war into the breath of life itself, or the other way around, all with your words. So permit me to briefly offer you a little guidance today about this unbelievably powerful tool you have. If you are loose with your words, if you're in the habit of talking without thinking, deploying destruction without a filter, or if you withhold your words, I hope you realize that you don't have to keep doing things the way you've been doing them. Don't buy into the notion that you were just born this way, you were just raised this way, this is how my mom was, or my dad was just like that too. Because as much as you might admire your parents, somebody else's poor habit doesn't have to be yours. You can do something about your words for good or for not. They are far more powerful than you know. Kind words heal and help. Cutting words wound and maim. You know this is true. If you don't, you should know it's true. The proverb is not given to us so that we can shrug our shoulders. It's given to us as inspiration to do something better, to be someone better. So in that spirit, I want to give you some things to consider, some tools that I've employed in my life. Here's the first one. Let positive words far outweigh negative ones. Let positive words far outweigh negative ones. Rabbi Joseph Telushkin wrote a book called Words That Hurt, Words That Heal. And he's a guy who became kind of famous. He's lectured all over the world on the powerful and often negative impact of our words. And in his presentations, he often asks audiences if they think they can go 24 hours, just 24 hours, without saying anything unkind to or about another person. Imagine somebody giving you that challenge. And imagine deciding whether or not you'll take it. Let me put some meat on the bone for you. For 24 hours, you can't talk ill of Donald Trump or Gavin Newsom or AOC. You can't say anything negative about Pete Hegseth or Hakeem Jeffries or J.D. Vance or Abigail Spanberger. You can't say anything negative about your rival team. You can't speak ill of your boss or a coworker that just rubs you the wrong way. You can't say anything kind to anyone or about anyone in your family. You can't post a single unkind word on social media. When Rabbi Telushkin asks his audiences if they can do it, he says only a small number of people ever raise their hands and say yes. And he responds like this. This is nearly a quote. He says, those who can't answer yes must recognize that you have a serious problem. And he goes on to explain, he says, look, if you can't go 24 hours without drinking alcohol, you're an alcoholic. And if you can't go 24 hours without using drugs, you're an addict. And if you can't go 24 hours without saying unkind words to or about other people, then you have lost control over your tongue. Here's the thing. You have the power to get it back. So here's an idea. You won't like it. It'll seem a little childish, but it probably would be very helpful after it was a little painful. You could track yourself. Like really, tally them up. You could get someone to hold you accountable. When I was a kid, my mom had a cussing jar. Do you know what that is? Every time she cussed, I got a quarter. That was when a quarter was actually something. Now, I won't tell you how much money I raised, but I bought a brand new car when I turned 16 with it. Just kidding. That was unkind. Put up a jar. Let your kids charge you. Charge yourself. Whatever it takes. Commit that you're going to use the power of your words for help and healing, not to wound and maim. Let positive words far outweigh negative ones. I always say something positive before I say something negative if I have to say something negative. It's a rule for me. Now, always is probably a bit of an overstatement if I'm honest, but it's nearly accurate, nearly. And I don't flatter people for the sake of it. I don't have to invent something good. I'm not lying when I say something good. I honestly work to think of good, positive things to say, especially if I've got a critique or a criticism or something negative to say too. In fact, around our offices here, we kind of turn this into a little bit of a joke with the people I work closely with. I'll walk into someone's office and I'll say, I really like your hair and your shoes look nice, because I guess somewhere along the way, in order to say something positive before I said something negative, I walked in someone's office and I said, hey, your hair looks great and I really like those shoes. So now when I walk into someone's office and I say, your hair looks great and your shoes are awesome, they think, oh my gosh, what is coming next? But the joke only works now if I actually don't have anything negative to say, because I actually want to think of something positive and offer it before any negative feedback. And I want to ensure that the former, the positive stuff, far outweighs the negative. It's not a one-to-one for me. I want to say more positive things than negative things. It's the kind of person I want to be. I think it's the kind of person God wants me to be, and it's not that hard. When I get to the place where I honestly cannot find something positive to say that's true, I have a soul level problem. I have lost the ability to see people the way that God sees them. So if you really want to get better at this, I'm going to offer you an exercise that would be a huge risk. I'm not kidding. This is risky. But if you really want to get better at this, ask a few people closest to you this question. Do I say more positive words and offer more positive feedback than I say negative words and offer negative feedback? Do I say more positive words and offer positive feedback than I do negative words and negative feedback? And let the people, when you ask someone this question, you have to say to them, I want you to tell me the truth. Tell them you want the truth. And then tell them, promise them there will be no repercussions and I will not argue with you if you'll give me your honest response. I just want to hear from you. One more note about this. The place we are most likely to let our guard down when it comes to our words is at home with our family. And that's a mistake. On the one hand, of course, I want to be able to completely relax at home, but not so much that I forget that if there is anyone I want to build up, and if there's anyone I want to avoid tearing down, it's the people that I love the most. And in a twist of irony that is somehow completely dark and unhealthy, those are the people that I am most likely to hurt with my words, because I forget how powerful my words are, even at home. Here's a phrase that you should learn to say. 3 words that I find are surprisingly difficult for lots of people to let loose. Ready? Here they are. I am sorry. I'm always amazed at how hard it is for people to say these words. Most people can agree that they're not perfect. If I asked, or do you think you're perfect? Everyone would say, of course I'm not perfect in theory. All of us in theory know that we make mistakes, but not all of us, when an actual mistake happens, can bring ourselves to apologize. You know how you've got a list of favorites on your phone? People you call and you text all the time, and you don't even know what their phone number is. Like, I don't know what my kids' phone numbers are. I just pull up my list of favorites and push their name because you want them easy to get to. Well, these 3 words, I am sorry, they should be on your list of words that you can get to quickly and easily, not flippantly. I never offer an apology I don't sincerely feel. That would be dishonest. But saying I'm sorry should be something you get good at. It's not fun. It might always be a little bit awkward. Nobody likes the reality that they hurt someone else or that they're wrong. Nobody likes that. But you should be an expert at sincerely apologizing and expressing your regret to your spouse and your parents and your kids and your friends and your coworkers. And I've only got enough stories to, fill up the whole day of times that I have done this. Let me just give you one that really sticks out in my mind. When my son Joshua was 6 years old, so this has been 20 years ago, but I'll never forget what happened that day. I was at home. I was working on a message for a Sunday experience here at PCC. I was facing a deadline. It wasn't going all that well. Sometimes you just struggle to sort of find the voice of God. This was one of those times. And Joshua asked if he could watch a movie. And I didn't even look up from my laptop. I just said, that's excellent. That's excellent that you want to watch a movie because Dad's working right now and I don't have time to play. So he goes in the other room. And a few minutes later, he calls my name. And like a good parent, I ignored him. And so like a 6-year-old, he called my name again and I ignored him. And 6-year-olds have this ability to put a name on repeat until it gets inside your soul and creates in you an evil version of yourself. And so after he called my name the 50th time, I stormed into the living room and I said, "Did you not hear me? I cannot play with you right now. You need to learn how to play by yourself sometimes. I just spent a lot of time with you yesterday. We went to the soccer practice and we jumped on the trampoline and we had a lot of fun. I just don't understand why you can't spend a few minutes watching a movie by yourself." When I finally quit talking, with Joshua's head hanging and tears streaming down his little face, he pointed to the shelf and said, "I can't reach the remote control." One of the Proverbs I read for you earlier says, "The words of the reckless pierce like swords." So I had to do what I knew was right. I got down on my knees, and through my own tears, I said, "I shouldn't have yelled at you. I should have listened to you. I was wrong, and I am so sorry." Too many times I've had to look at Susan and tell her I was sorry for snapping at her when I was grumpy or not calling when I was working late or not doing something I said I was going to do. It's not uncommon for me to apologize to a colleague at work. Recently, I had to apologize to one person who I didn't listen to really well and another person who I said something insensitive without thinking first. And some of us grew up in a home environment where apology is some sign of weakness. And can I just tell you, you just got to get rid of that. It is not a sign of weakness, not with your husband or your wife, not with your kids. Some dad said to me, that what you explained about Joshua, that's happened to every dad. I said, yes, but not every dad knows how to apologize for it. It's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of personal strength. It communicates that you know you're not perfect and you're not afraid to admit it and you're not afraid to do what you must to correct it. The alternative, your refusal to say, "I'm sorry," it makes you look insecure and afraid of looking weak. And the result is carnage and pain and distance and damage. More than that, can I just say, on a spiritual level, your refusal to apologize is a barrier between you and God. Because at the core of repentance is apology. So when you refuse to apologize, it's an indication that you have an unhealthy pride and ego has gotten in your way. It's outsized. In case you don't know this text, let me show it to you. The Lord detests all the proud of heart. Be sure of this, they will not go unpunished. Now, I don't know about you, but being detested by God is not on my bucket list. So there's a lot to this text about pride, and we just can't cover it all today. But at least this one aspect is relevant to words. Honest remorse is an indication of humility, and it is a repelling of pride. So, is there someone to whom you need to say, "I am sorry"? There are so many other things you can do with your words. And maybe you need to thank somebody who invested in you or offer a word of encouragement to someone. Maybe you need to say, you can do this, you've got this, or I'm with you, or you'll get through this valley, or I'm so proud of you, or you've made a difference in my life. There is literally an unending list of ways for you to use your words for help and healing. God uses the power of words through the Bible to say things to you and me, like I'm with you. I'll never leave you. I'd rather die than be without you. Words carry incredible power and weight to help and heal, to wound and maim. One last use of words to give life. 3 more words that I find many people struggle to say. Here they are. I love you. Now, I know we all come from all kinds of different backgrounds, and some of us come from a background where these words were either never spoken or used so recklessly as to be meaningless. Either way, for whatever reason, I find that these 3 words for some people have been removed from your vocabulary. I urge you to go get them back. Your kids need to hear you say it. Your spouse needs to hear you say it. The first time one of my closest friends told me he loved me as we hung the phone up, I'll just confess to you, I thought it was a little weird. But the truth is, he does love me. He's proven it with his actions. Why not seal the deal with the power of his words? I say it back now, by the way, and why not? After all, God uses words when he talks to us. He told the prophet Jeremiah, I have loved you with an everlasting love. The Apostle John wrote, we love God because God first loved us. And the most famous verse in the Bible, it says that God loved the world so much that he sent his one son for us. So find a way to tell the people you love that you love them. We ought to show our love with our actions. I'll give you that. But there is something about those words and what they communicate that cannot come any other way. Words carry incredible power and weight to heal and to help, to wound and to maim. So you were given a card when you came in today, and we wanted to provide a little bit of space for you to use the power of your words. Our experience today is not over. We've made it so that we provided some time for this. And for some of you, this exercise is going to be second nature. You've already done it today or yesterday or in the last few days. For others, it'll be a stretch, and that's okay. I hope you trust me enough to let me stretch you just a little bit. I'm asking you to consider right now one person who you would like to deploy your words to in a way that will help and heal, like the scripture says. Maybe this is a word of encouragement, or maybe it's a thank you, or maybe it's an apology. Maybe you simply need to say that you're glad this person is in your life. I'm going to write one of these cards too. And if you'd like, we gave you an envelope. You can address the envelope, and we'll even put the stamp on it and mail it for you. Or you can hand deliver it or mail it yourself. But we're going to give you a minute, and we're going to bring the lights up just a little bit so you can see. And we're going to give you a minute to get started on your card. And then we're going to do a rework of a song that puts kind of the finishing touch on what we've talked about today. Now listen, if we start singing the song and you're still writing, keep writing. I think that's the work God wants to do. So let me finish like this. May your words be used to help. May your words be used to heal. May the power of your words lift people up and point everyone around you to the one who gave you the power of words in the first place. Amen.
They've made me feel like a prisoner. They made me feel set free. They've made me feel like a criminal. Made me feel like a king. They've lifted my heart to places I've never been, and they've dragged me down and back to where I began. And words can build you up, and words can break you down. Start a fire in your heart or put it out. And let my words be light. Let my words be true. I don't want to say a word unless it points the world back to you. And you can heal the heartache, speak over the fear. God, your voice is the only thing that we need to hear. And words can build you up, and words can break you down. Start a fire in your heart or put it out. And let my words be light, and let my words be true. I don't want to say a word unless it points the world back to you. And let the words I say be the sound of your grace. I don't want to say a word unless it points the world back to you. I want to speak your love and not just another noise. I want to be your light. I want to be your voice. And let my words be light. Let my words be true. I don't want to say a word unless it points the world back to you. Oh, let the words I say be the sound of your grace. I don't want to say a word unless it points the world back to you. And I don't want to say a word unless it points the world back to you. I don't want to say a word unless it points the world back to you.
I don't want to say a word unless it points the world back to you. And there are certain words that feel hard to say in the moment. And maybe they are because of what you've been through and what they mean to you. But to say them, to speak them, can bring life and truth and grace and healing, both for the person they're directed to and yourself. You heard Pastor Brian talk about sending a card to somebody today. Well, we have a link in the chat for you where you can download this card. I hope that you will, and that you'll print it out, you'll fill it out, and you will send these words, the words you need to say to somebody this week. If you want prayer or help with any of this, reach out to me by emailing me at elijah.shirelli@passioncommunity.com or clicking the link in the chat. I would love to speak with you, pray with you about any of the words that are on your heart, that God has put on your heart, and that you might need to say. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you again next week as we continue this series. Invite a friend. We'll see you both then.